What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel that's still growing strong. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'm about to explain why I've been absent for just over a week. This car has turned into an absolute nightmare, and I've got loads of details to share with you, so check this one out. Considering all the work that's just happened to this car, let's just take a moment to see the end result visually. So obviously, being a 65 plate, this is a facelift. Ignore my reflection. As soon as the car came into stock, I didn't mess about. I got the wheels refurbed straight away. And it has to be said, the color is one of my favorite things about this car. Have you seen an Insignia in this blue before? It really suits it. It's beautiful. And the cleanliness of the interior now. Patterns in the carpet are always very welcome, but the interior is beautifully clean. Now, when it comes to the visuals of the car, obviously it's lovely. There are a few marks and imperfections here and there, being that it is a car that's had a life. People say I'm too transparent, but I'd rather give it to you absolutely straight. So there are a couple of marks over here, nothing really to write home about. I do suspect that there's been some filler here at some point because the blue is slightly mismatched. With budget cars, unfortunately, we're going to have something that's going to remind us of its previous life. Now, I do know I have a bit of a reputation for getting cars from really far away, and it was no exception with this car. I went up to Scotland. I did get it for a good price, but when I got there, and this is something I mentioned in the previous video, I heard on cold start a really awful rattle. It sounded like this. Now, this Insignia is the 1.6 diesel, not the 2-litre diesel that you commonly see. Now, in this respect, the 1.6 diesel has a lot of benefits, but it is timing chain driven, not timing belt driven or cam belt driven. Cam belts are really easy to replace. Timing chains, especially for this specific engine, is no joke. And when I got there, turned it on and heard it sound like that, I immediately thought, this car is ultimately going to be a risk now. And because of that, I brought the price way down. Thankfully, she was really cool. She understood and she approved the price offer that I gave her. But even with that low price, I still wasn't entirely confident, and it was still a massive risk. Nonetheless, I drove the car back 240, 250 miles, something heavy like that, and it did a very good job. The moment the car warmed up, it sounded smooth, drove back beautifully. So I knew I had a gem hidden here somewhere. It was just about releasing it. Specification wise, it was also worth it. This car has front and rear parking sensors. It's got a heated steering wheel. It's got heated front seats. It has Apple CarPlay. It's also a Euro 6 ULEZ car, which is important for some people I know, especially being a diesel. So specifically, this is the SRI nav model, nav being the big screen that has the Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, etc. So I didn't mess around. The first thing I did, of course, when I got back is I refurbished the wheels to give it a really, really clean look. Oh yeah, I think it's definitely done the job. Before the car was even booked into LT to go on the ramp, the first thing I did was ask them to confirm, was that in fact the timing chain that I suspected, as opposed to a dual mass flywheel, etc. Immediately, it didn't take long to go, yes, this was the timing chain. This was really, really bad news. Even though I prepped for it, I was still hoping somewhere in the back of my head it was not a timing chain. Now, unbelievably, because this channel is growing so strong, so well, even in this very early stage, I had put a video up shortly after moving into my first unit. This car was in that video, and I explained about the timing chain issue. This gentleman asked if he can buy this car on the spot and have it delivered when it is ready, purely based on the fact of seeing my YouTube and seeing how I prepare vehicles, that I take it very, very personally and do not let anything go out unless it's got my seal of approval. Well, as honored as I genuinely felt at that moment, that put a lot of pressure on me to go, this has to be right. And because it had one of the biggest jobs to do, I thought, no, let's get this one done properly. What I didn't know was I was in for a world of surprises. It wasn't as simple as just a timing chain. So I ordered a new timing chain kit. And because the gearbox is going to come out at the same time as doing the timing chain, that meant there was an opportunity to put a new clutch in. So I ordered a new clutch as well. And on the back of that, gearbox oil, so the gearbox will have a service while I'm in there as well. So already we're off to a kicking start with this one. Now, the first thing when it came to the timing chain was that we think of BMW 3 Series, 1 Series, that 2-litre diesel N47 engine, the one that everyone says is a pain when it comes to timing chain labor. It turns out the labor on doing the timing chain on this was worse and longer than doing a timing chain on one of those. On the N47, you're looking at about 13 hours, give or take. On this, the official quoted time from Autodata, with a brand new car with no rusty bolts or anything that are a pain to take out, is 16 hours quoted. That is official on this car, and the timing chain isn't even at the back, but because it's front wheel drive, you've got everything in your way. But nevertheless, I committed to this one and was like, yeah, we're going to get this done properly. So the very first thing we found hilariously was as we started peeling everything back, we started exposing a few issues. The first one was we found someone had cable tied the boost pipe on. Now, obviously I was questioning, why would you not just get a new boost pipe? We got a new boost pipe for that Range Rover Evoque for 40 quid. But this is where something quite interesting happens. Vauxhalls, for some reason, seem to have premium parts when it comes to cost. They seem to be a bit more expensive than your average. And I seem to come across this pretty much everywhere I went for parts for this car. The servicing and stuff wasn't too bad, but when it came to parts like the suspension, the boost pipe, etc., it just seemed to be a little bit more costly than I'd expected. So the boost pipe alone was over £200 for a boost pipe. To put that in context, I spent about £40 for the Range Rover's boost pipe. And hilariously, the Range Rover engine's a bigger one, 2.2, this is 1.6. But regardless, I was not going to cable tie the boost pipe back on, so we got a new boost pipe that is fresh and done. Don't need to worry about that anymore. Then we found that underneath the car, the bottom arms have the bushes inside of them. They were quite deteriorated. Not enough to the point where it would cause a failure, but definitely an advisory. And again, I can't put this car out and say, oh yeah, I've done everything properly and had a proper look at everything, and it's still got deteriorated bushes. No. So we've got two brand new bottom arms, because the bushes are basically built into them. And surprisingly, again, these were just over £100 each. Ouch, I was feeling it at this point. But oh, we were just getting started, because guess what? On the offside or driver's side, I just stepped in mud. On the offside or driver's side wheel, as soon as I came off, and of course the drive shaft and everything had to come out because of course the gearbox is going to come out, it was very apparent that the CV joints and everything around that area was seized. Whilst we could spend some effort replacing various components around that area, of course spending more money, it was very clear that in the future, if this car was to ever have a job where the gearbox has to come out, it could be anything, even just for a clutch replacement, all that area that's seized will affect things in the future. So again, we took it upon ourselves to go, nope, let's replace all this. So part of the drive shaft got replaced, the CV joint, all that got replaced as well. You can see the pattern at this point. The list is starting to go on and on and on. Now, it sounds like everything that we're coming across we're replacing, which I suppose in one way was good for the new owner especially, but at the same time it had me wondering, on surface level, when you're picking up cars and new stock, it is very, very difficult to really know, without putting the car on a ramp and going deep into it, exactly just how much money you're about to spend. And this boils back down to why we charge a retail price and why we try and buy cars at a low. It's not an insult, it is literally just a risk assessment. That's it. I do appreciate a lot of dealers will do the complete opposite and try to go really low to a point where it's unjustified almost. In this particular case, it was absolutely justified. I'll defend that one to the hills, and I think you will at this point. Now, at this point, we were able to go and see the original timing chain and confirm, yes, it was definitely slack. You can see here in this video, it's not looking as it should. Well, at least the benefit there is that we know that that knocking noise that we heard was definitely the timing chain. So I suppose in one way, we know it's going to sound way better when the new one goes in. Now, remember, it's not just the chain you're replacing, it's a kit. It's all the elements that are involved with that chain. At this point, I don't know why, I looked at the battery and I thought something was wrong. And of course it was wrong, because it had a bloody Ford logo on it. This is a Vauxhall, why has it got a Ford battery inside of it? Then I started looking at the specifications and noticed 60 amp hours, 600 amps. That seems a bit low for one of these. And I was right. I double checked the specs and it turns out it needed an 80 amp hour and 800 amps. So, of course, you can see the pattern at this point. A new battery has gone in that is the correct specification and AGM. To go an extra mile with this one, we actually found that the injectors, the return pipe, was very brittle and the plastic had basically deteriorated. So guess what? It got a new one of those as well. It got a new return pipe for the injectors, which is along the fuel rail. Of course, it's also had a full service, so that's been topped up as well. Even though the car already had a good MOT on it, I wanted to give it a fresh 12 months, ultimately to give the new customer peace of mind that everything's been checked. And everything went back together until on this Friday, we found there was an oil leak. The leak was coming from a timing cover, which is basically at the top of the engine. You can see it on the side. It's the case that goes around the timing chain. And then we had a good look and we can see it was actually cracked. Now, this was really bad news because a cracked timing cover basically means that it is going to leak oil. Even though it's fairly small at this stage, it was unacceptable to me. That timing case needed to be replaced. However, it just simply was not as simple as that. Now, we thought this timing cover could be welded. Now, the idea was we thought on the Saturday, next day, we can get everything sorted. Unfortunately, the next day, no welders were in. So even though I pushed the customer back by a day to Sunday, I then had to push him back to Tuesday, thinking the welder's going to come in on Monday. Get it done, get it MOT'd, sorted. No. On the Monday, the welder has a good look, cleans everything up, and he basically turns around and says it can't be welded. Now, some arguments say it could be welded, but he didn't feel confident. And if he's not feeling confident, I'm not doing it. So ultimately that piece had to go in the bin. And guess what? I had to go to Sheffield, which is a 2-hour drive. Unfortunately in rush hour, I took the Audi A1, which by the way was wonderful. It really took the stress out of the journey. And I had to drive through the congestion zone. And oh my God, it turns out it's a Euro 5B. Sheffield is compliant and there was no charge, thank God. After 2 hours and a trusty A1, I have now got the part I need. What a nightmare that was. I can't believe my luck with this timing chain cover. It was meant to be in 5 days ago. Taking this A1 was a great opportunity to see what it's like on the motorway, and it was honestly brilliant. Hi, wifey, can I call you back in a few minutes? Thank you, darling. Bye-bye. I managed to pick up the part. The idea was I needed it same day, so I had to go somewhere where it had it in stock. But either way, I went and did that, and I got home at 7 p.m. Clearly, the car's not getting MOT'd and not going out to the customer on the Tuesday. So I called, put the customer back to Wednesday, thinking that would be problem sorted. So you can see where this is going, and it's ultimately my fault because I should have given myself way more time and less expectations on the customer, considering we were finding consistent things to fix, which were taking up more time. Now, the next day, we actually put the new timing cover on, and thankfully it worked. It was a very good one, problem sorted. But as soon as we put the car back together, this is on the Tuesday, remember, came back down, and we found again there is another oil leak. This one didn't appear to be from somewhere easy to access. It turned out the oil leak was coming from the gearbox. Guess what? The gearbox had to come back out the car and be opened up again. It's probably about 6 hours labour just there. You can see how this car was really testing us, and it even tested Enterprise, because guess what? Enterprise, every single time we pushed the date back, they were getting phone calls. Can we please move the date back? There's been an issue. And you know what? Credit to Enterprise at this one. They actually worked with me, and as much as I'm sure I was annoying them, they've done the job. Now, we decided at this point, let's not give next day promises, obviously, which we should have done in the beginning. Thursday, Friday, let's work on the car. Let's just make sure everything's boxed off. Whatever this oil leak is, let's get it sorted properly. That happened. Gearbox came back out and they found the crankshaft seal, which actually is quite common for leaking. Thankfully, the crankshaft seal was only about £10, so cost-wise, it wasn't an issue. It was just a labour, which I'm sure you could imagine at this point was really becoming concerning. But we knew that as we were going through the car, this thing was getting pristine treatment, and somebody was literally getting internally a very, very, very looked over car. It became such a joke inside the unit that everyone started saying, we want it, knowing it's so cheap and it's got that much reassurance work that's been done to it. I mean, quite frankly, the amount of work that's been done to this car now, it should last a very, very long time. It's only got 109,000 miles on it. Now, because the gearbox had to come back out again, that meant it had a second round of gearbox oil. So it's had 2 gearbox services, funnily enough. Car's getting delivered tomorrow morning to the customer, and I am very, very excited for him to see how much work, and I really hope he's happy with how we've tried our absolute best to look after the car and him, and subsequently, of course, his family. So for £3,400, this customer has got himself a 1.6 diesel, ULEZ compliant Euro 6 with all those cool things inside of it. And the mechanical elements that have been replaced, like the timing chain, the clutch, all those various components, mean this thing should last him a very, very good while. For less than £3,500, that is the kind of reassurance you deserve when you're buying a budget car. If you go on Facebook Marketplace and go and get something that has no reassurance whatsoever, you can see the difference. And you can see the kind of market I'm trying to attack here. And it's difficult. Trust you me, it's really not easy. So this morning, we got in the car, got the clutch bled. I didn't even know, personally, that you were supposed to bleed the clutch in the same way that you bleed brakes, but you do. So the clutch has been bled and it went for the MOT, and guess what? Surprise, surprise, it passed with no advisories. I mean, if I had an advisory at that point, you know how I would have been feeling. But now I'm breathing a sigh of relief. I'll be honest, for the past couple of days, I haven't been sleeping well because in my mind, I just really don't want to let this customer down. And I know it was pretty much my own fault that I was committing to times that I shouldn't have been committing to, but at the same time, I just really wanted to do my best for the car and for this customer, and I really hope I have. Now, honestly, this car has basically nearly broken me in some respects. So in terms of profit, I'm not going to go too much into the obvious details, just out of respect for the customer, but I am very, very lucky with this car. The reason I'm lucky is I am now VAT registered. When you're VAT registered, you take the price you bought the car for and you take the price you sold the car for, and that amount is the amount you're taxed on. Now, obviously, that chunk can sometimes be quite sizable. In most cases, it's the reason why most dealers don't break even on cars but actually turn it into a loss, because they have to give the government their piece. Remember, house always wins. Now, this car sold literally just before my VAT effective start date. So the tax point of this car ultimately means I do not have to pay VAT on this car, which has saved me from a big loss, truth be told. Now, have I made money on this car? No, I haven't. I've basically broken even. Had I paid VAT on this car, it would have been quite a serious loss. Look at the end result now. We have a gorgeous Insignia. When you've got this much work and this much reassurance in a car that's had little details, you know, like the alloys being refurbed, and it's going to a customer who clearly is going to really appreciate it, it warms my heart. It genuinely does. I'm honestly really thrilled with this one. Now, I have to give special credit to DC Detailing and Valeting, because he turned around to me and said, I don't care what time it comes off the ramp, that car needs to be done for the customer, and I'm going to come down and make sure it's done, even in the dark. So guess what? He came down in the dark and gave the car his treatment. And as you can see, he did a proper job. So thank you very much, Dan. Because of you, this customer's not going to receive a car that's half finished. This is the kind of team you need to have around you. People who care about what you're doing, not just go there because of the money. Yeah, the money's important. Obviously, we all know that. But the amount of stress you're going to generate isn't going to be worth it. Ultimately, doing things like this pulls my heartstrings. That's why I do it. And the people I do it with makes all the difference. And now, creating this community on YouTube is even more so pulling my heartstrings. So I want to give as much to you. Because of the amount of messages I get from people who say that I've helped them out and inspired them, thank you, because you are actually giving me the reason to do this sort of thing. So thank you. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, because this is going to get big. And if you haven't already seen it, watch my video of starting this business. I turned over 100 grand in less than 4 months, and then I got my first unit in 6 months. I've just bought a handful of cars in, so you can see on the website things are going a bit bananas, but that's also golden news. It means there's actually quite a lot of cool stuff coming. On a side note, I was quite surprised how big the boot is on one of these. It's actually really deep. I'm going to bar my bag tray plates. You can get quite a lot in there. I don't want to say the word bodies. Oh yeah. Oh, it's a lovely car, this thing. It just starts beautifully smooth. Hilariously, half a tank, 400 miles range. It's brilliant on fuel. Now, forgive me, heated steering wheel is going on. Now, there is one more fault in this car which I'm not overly happy about, but the customer has said they're really not bothered about it, which is the heated steering wheel works. The passenger heated seat works. The driver heated seat does work, but after a minute, it times out and turns off. Strange. But if you keep turning it back on, the seat does, of course, heat up. Now, it turns out these can be quite common. So the sensor which decides that the seat's getting too hot and obviously turns it off, that sensor can be funny. But to replace it, you got to pull the seat out. You got to basically strip back, get to the heating pad and replace all that. But he said, look, I don't even use the heated seats. Do not worry about it. It's minor. So I don't want that coming back onto me, you know. But one thing I will be doing is putting in the Apple CarPlay. So plug it in. There you go. Apple CarPlay. Obviously fully touchscreen as well. You can do with it whatever you want to do. Now, obviously electronic handbrake, put it into first gear, and the clutch is very low. Obviously new clutches are always very strange to get used to. Simply very smooth. It feels really good. Right, going up the hill now, you know the drill. Go up the hill and the boost is just there immediately. It's, you know, shockingly, obviously I used to have the 2-litre diesel version of this Insignia, and speaking honestly, I can't tell much difference between the two when it comes to power. Now, obviously, these are not performance cars. They're meant to just be budget executive cars. And to be honest with you, they're very good. They do the job. Now, obviously, when it comes to refinement, it's not the same as a German car when it comes to minimizing the wind noise, all that sort of stuff. But in terms of ticking all the boxes and getting it done, it feels pretty good. Gearbox feels very good now, doesn't it? It feels beautiful. The thing is, though, it's comfortable. I've got a long drive in the morning, actually, going to deliver this, and I'm actually looking forward to it because this car is beautifully comfortable. And yeah, it drives exactly kind of how you want it to. The boost is very good actually. The digital driver display does make quite a difference, you know, because it's just so clear. If you live in the kind of place where there's a lot of restricted parking and you have to squeeze into gaps, front and rear sensors do make a difference. I know I'm one of those, I'm guilty for it. Front sensors, why would you have them? You can see out the front. But when you're literally having, you know, a couple of inches of squeezing room, it does give you that extra reassurance to not hit anybody else's car, obviously. On a side note, I've just started an 8-week gym challenge because, you know, my hips don't lie. That heated steering wheel is really toasty. I really like it. Now that this car's done, now I can start focusing on the other stuff. We've got a diesel Focus, which is a level up from the Fiesta Focus, because it's the next gen. That's coming very shortly. We've also got a 1 Series 118D, the same engine as the 318D. And we do have the upcoming finance video on being able to finance your car as a new trader especially. I'm just waiting for some responses on consultancy to make sure that the advice I give in that one is legal, obviously. Really? Make sure you subscribe to this journey. Thank you so much for watching this all the way through and being genuinely a part of what's going on here. This is going to get more special. I'll see you soon.